You know what's wild? That moment you start seeing through their bullshit, suddenly you're the crazy one. Ever notice that? The louder you tell the truth, the quicker they are to slap that crazy label on you. These TikTok videos I have for you today, we're tearing that lie apart. You're not crazy. Being called crazy by an abuser isn't an insult. It's a damn confirmation that you're waking up. So it's time to call the gaslighting what it is. Manipulation, not madness. So sit back and let's talk about those people who call us crazy.
He called me crazy more times than he called me my name. And I never understood it until now, but people do that when they carry shame. When someone knows they're hurting you but doesn't want to take the blame, they'll turn you into the villain so that at least you're the same. They'll call you crazy because you see exactly who they are, and that terrifies them because no one has before. Don't you know? You can't call a cheater. It makes you insane. Because God, why would you ever assume they're to blame? Their actions aren't their fault. It's because you're crazy. They'll look you dead in the eye and say, "This is who you made me." That's the thing about a bad person. They blame everyone but themselves. So the next time someone calls you crazy, just know that you're not. It just makes them feel better about everything they're doing wrong.
What to say when somebody calls you crazy? Now, maybe I'm the first to tell you this, but common sense is scary for some people. They don't understand it. They can't relate to it, so they'd rather call it crazy. The next time you're in a conversation and somebody calls you crazy, understand what they're doing is applying a label as an excuse to distance themselves and give them a reason not to understand anything more. See, rather than debate you, they'd rather delegitimize you. So what you do is respond with a question. Is it crazy to want a conversation? Is it crazy to want to be heard or to be understood? And you're going to find out real quick from their answer. Is it you? Is it you who's crazy? Or are they just uncomfortable? So try that and follow me.
When you're approaching somebody and that individual has a history of calling you crazy, when you try to explain, hey, I just want to talk through this. I just want you to understand me. The element of abuse is very apparent if they look at you, are not able to engage in a meaningful and intelligent communication. So I would say in those instances where that individual is already an abuser, where the name calling is immediate, I would say don't even try having those conversations. Run. Even though it's easier said than done. I get it. I understand the cycle of abuse. I understand you. And sometimes you just can't leave. And there's a toxic bond keeping you solidified with this individual. I get it.
You're crazy. You're fucking delusional. Does your partner say this to you, or a version of this? Yeah, not cool. It's a form of gaslighting, and it's damaging. After a while, we hear that so much, part of us questions ourselves. We start not to trust our gut. There's nothing worse than that, because our gut tells us everything. You need to address this immediately and tell your partner there are some words that are off limits, and crazy and delusional are two of them. Go get what you need.
Even if you're in those type of relationships where that other individual is constantly name calling and so forth, and you're not able to leave, however, you can still use your voice. Hey, I'm not crazy. The act of denying those attacks, those verbal attacks with name calling, that will give you a sense of power. Although it may not be much, but it's something.
Abusers label survivors as crazy because it absolves them of responsibility. It's far easier to pathologize someone's reaction than to admit that they systematically broke another human being down. They provoke, gaslight, lie, cheat, destabilize, and erode a person's sense of reality over time, then stand back and point to the inevitable breakdown as if it appeared out of nowhere. What they call instability is often a nervous system pushed past its limits. What they mock as overreacting is a body and mind responding exactly as they were conditioned to respond under chronic threat. And the smirk comes from knowing they rewrote the story. They get to look calm and reasonable, while the survivor carries the visible scars of all of the damage that they caused.
In my research, the recipient of name calling endures a stress response that encompasses their whole body. Stress response is not healthy. If it is always elevated, always being triggered, it is not healthy.
The narc calls you crazy and will tell others, many others, including your kids, that you're crazy. You're unstable. You're mentally ill. You're bipolar, come to find out. Your hormones are out of whack. You have dementia. You're not the crazy one. He's the crazy one. Anyone who tries to convince you that you're crazy is the crazy one.
Normal people don't go around calling people names. They attack, they demean, they devalue. It's not okay. It is not okay.
Reactive abuse is when someone pushes your buttons until you explode. Then they play the victim. You're not crazy. You're being manipulated. Psychology shows some people provoke you on purpose through gaslighting, silent treatment, or subtle jabs until your nervous system breaks. Then they use your reaction as evidence that you're the unstable one. But the outburst isn't where the abuse starts. It's where it finally becomes visible. The real damage happens in the quiet moments leading up to it. Your reaction wasn't the problem. It was the symptom of someone pushing you past your limits. And seeing the pattern is how you stop carrying the blame that was never yours.
The narcissist will accuse you of being crazy and having a mental illness in order to discredit you. And what they're going to do is they're going to subtly, covertly smear you to friends and family long before they actually leave you or before you actually leave. So what they're going to do is they're going to start telling people that you're depressed, that you're anxious, that they're worried about you, that you're behaving in a strange way, and that they're actually struggling with you at home and the ways that you behave. Because what they're doing is they're setting up their exit protection strategy. They want everyone to discredit you. They want everyone to think that you're the problem, that you're insane, that you're crazy, you have a mental illness. They're going to tell people that you have a mental illness. This happens long before they leave because they have to get ahead of their terrible behavior and how badly they've treated you. And then what they're going to do is they're going to start to psychologically and emotionally destabilize you. They're going to break you down. They're going to cultivate insecurity. They're going to start to make you feel like you're losing your mind.
So many abusive partners make us feel crazy for being upset. They behave in ways that are inconsistent and that violate the very things that they say is true. I love you, but I chronically let you feel unsafe. I say that you're the only one, but I notice when somebody else very attractive walks in the room. I promise to never leave you, but then I make little digs at you that suggest that I don't always like you. When we live in these systems that have paradoxical statements, it creates confusion. And yet then the other level of abuse that then gets layered on top is they make you feel bad for reacting. You're being too sensitive. I didn't say that. You're putting words in my mouth. I told you I love you and I choose you. Why are you pushing things? Can't we just start over? Can't you let anything go? All of this then puts the burden of that on you and makes you feel like that somehow you created the problem instead of it being externally created. No, this is being done to you. You're not making this up. It doesn't make sense. Being told that you're the problem adds to the problem and worsens the situation. No, your neurology is on high alert saying something is wrong here. It's not computing. And then you're being gaslit to believe that you're the problem. This creates cognitive dissonance It creates an intense confusion that makes it very difficult for you to figure out what's true and real, which is why you're having a hard time making a decision what you're going to do about that troubled relationship. Anyone who does this to you doesn't really respect or love you. Loving people take ownership of their own behavior, and they don't make other people feel crazy for reacting to their inconsistency. They take responsibility and accountability and get their act together. If you're in a situation that's making you feel confused and you're feeling blamed like you're the one who's being too much or too sensitive, that may be a sign that there's cognitive dissonance. Get help. Don't go alone.
No matter what, never again allow a man to convince you that you're crazy or insecure for having a natural reaction to his hurtful behavior. He's only going to call you that because it's easier to label your reaction than to address his action that caused it. Like, he'll disappear overnight, sometimes for days, then call you possessive because you ask where he's been. He'll act thirsty for other women, then call you jealous when you're repulsed by the affection that he tries to show you. Or he'll repeatedly break promises, then call you disrespectful when you stop treating him with the respect that his decisions made you lose for him. This is manipulation, inducing hypervigilance through inconsistency, then labeling you paranoid, triggering emotional intensity through a boundary violation, then saying that you are overreacting, or forcing repeated explanations through a selective comprehension, then naming it nagging. And if you're not careful, he'll eventually get you to gaslight yourself into thinking the real problem is your trust issues and your mood swings, when that's just your spiritual immune system fighting against the infection of his narcissism. But it's the same old tricks, just a different clown. He creates the wound, blames you for bleeding. He plants seeds of doubt, then mocks the garden of insecurity that grows. Because truth is, a broken man will deliberately push your boundaries just to test how much you'll tolerate, then use your eventual reaction as proof that you were the problem all along. Like it's the perfect crime. Commit the offense, prosecute the witness. But what he calls your overreactions are really just your standard speaking in the language that his lack of integrity can't silence. Because the only thing that would be crazy about your response to being hurt is if you believed you shouldn't have one.
How to respond when someone calls you crazy. This is How to Convince with Lawyer Vince. You ever find yourself in a conversation where the other person ends up calling you crazy and then you feel triggered and you don't really know what to say back? Well, next time, remember this tip. Next time that someone calls you crazy, say this: I'm not here to have a name calling match. I want to have a productive conversation. Is it fair for us to continue? This is a great way to gently call them out, but also understand, do they actually think you're crazy or are they just uncomfortable with the conversation? Send this video to a friend that needs this advice and give me a follow.
When a narcissist calls you crazy, take it as an unintentional compliment. In their twisted world, when you're crazy, that just means you're difficult to fucking manipulate. Remember that.
When you're in an abusive relationship, your abuser wants you to stay confused. They want to keep your reality in a fog. They want to convince you that you're lucky to have them and that you aren't really lovable and you'd be crazy to leave them. And speaking of crazy, this is what will happen. They will push you and push you and push you until you either explode or you build up so much resentment against them that you actually begin to hate them and you think or say terrible things about them. And I've gotten emails from people saying, is it possible that I'm the narcissist like they say that I am? Or they say, I feel like I've become like them and I hate that about myself. Am I actually the abuser? Here's what I will say. When you're in an abusive relationship, your body will start to show signs of that. It will rebel in some form. You will feel crazy, but you're not crazy. You're angry that you're being abused. And if you've ever asked yourself, am I the narcissist? Remember this, no narcissist has ever asked that question. And if you're asking yourself, am I abusing them? The actual abuser in the relationship has never asked that question either, have they? Only victims seem to ask those questions because you still actually care. You're not crazy. Being dismissed and gaslit and demeaned and looked down upon and manipulated would make anyone feel crazy. It would make anyone want to pull away to protect themselves. It would make anyone feel terribly anxious or build up resentment. It would make anyone want to stand up for themselves. And you want to know the best way to stand up for yourself? It's not convincing them of your worth or value. It's not convincing them that your feelings matter. It's not fighting more to be heard. It's realizing that they don't care about your needs, wants, or desires, and then silently walking away. Now, that obviously takes a tremendous amount of courage and strength, but I just want to remind you, You deserve someone who's warm and kind and considerate and respectful, who isn't perfect, but you know they care about you and love you through their consistent words and actions. That person is out there waiting for you, but you have to have the courage to go find them.
Why the narcissist will call you crazy or psychotic. Usually they will say this after you try to address one of their problematic behaviors, communicate a boundary, or tell them how you feel. And then the narcissist will say, "You're crazy, you're psychotic, you need help." And the reason why they say this is because they want to do what they want to do, and they want to avoid accountability and have more power and control over you. And when they say that, it slowly conditions you to be less likely to speak up again in the future. They want you to remember, the last time I spoke up and communicated my boundaries, they called me crazy and psychotic. It also wears away at your sense of self-worth over time, and this helps them to have more power and control over you. But remember, everything a narcissist does is about power, control, image, narcissistic supply, and avoiding accountability.
Anytime you say something bad about somebody when they're not around, you are planting a karmic seed. And that karmic seed will come back at you. And then you may say, well, so what? The karmic seed is going to produce somebody saying bad things about me behind my back, and I don't care what they say. That's not how it works. The karmic seed you're planting is how you're feeling about that person negatively. So the universe is going to create situations in your life where you do feel bad. It doesn't mean that it's going to create a situation where somebody talks negatively about you behind your back. But it does mean that the universe, via the law of karma, the law of giving and receiving, the law of sow and receive, sow and reap, what you put out comes back to you. The law of attraction, what you put out is attracted back to you. By that law, the universe is going to manifest or create situations, events, people, conditions, and circumstances that are going to make you feel bad. It may not be somebody talking negatively about you, because if that doesn't affect you, then that is not going to be the circumstance that your karma is going to produce. Bottom line, what you put out does come back. And if you are saying and thinking about people negatively, if you're putting out that bad energy, that negative energy toward other people, it is going to adversely affect your life. It's going to reduce your chances of success. It's going to reduce the prosperity in your life, the happiness in your life, the joy in your life. That is the fact. What you put out does come back.
You want to know how to tell an abuser from a victim? The victim talks about their pain. The abuser talks about the victim. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I hope that you walk away knowing that anyone who calls you crazy, they have issues. Normal people don't go around calling other people names, and it is a form of emotional and mental abuse that you don't deserve whatsoever. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Take care, my friend.